Welcome back to Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. And the game of the week is the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, those Jacksonville Jaguars, those first place Jacksonville Jaguars in the AFC South, which I don't know if many people can actually believe that is true, but yes, it is 2022 and it is true. Okay, so to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles and the matchup from their perspective, I brought in two good brothers that I know that definitely talk about the Eagles throughout the entire season, give you the ups, the downs, all that in between. It's none other than Mr. Jonesy and Brown. What's going on?
Oh man, thanks for having us on. Man, glad to be here. It's been a fun football season so far.
Very fun for us. Yes, very fun for us. And here in Philly, we are loving football season. Football seasons don't start like this very often around here, so we're good with this.
Cool. So I know you're happy. So of course we do have to talk about the Eagles' hot start. That would be led by Mr. Jalen Hurts. Of course, passing, he's got 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 916 yards through the air, and running, he's got 3 touchdowns, 107 yards, and averaging about 4.5 yards per carry. So, he's doing his thing. He's definitely having folks talking about early season MVP, and I'm like, whoa, it's only 3 games now. Mm-hmm. But hey, he's still doing his thing, and I'm very glad to see it. So I've got to ask, through 3 games, is this what you thought you would see from Jalen Hurts?
I'm going to be honest. Yes, this is what I thought I would see. This is what I was expecting, I should say. I expected this. I expected him to improve because I felt like he talked way too good of a game as a quarterback and a leader to just come out and just be awful. Like if Jalen Hurts came out this season and was mid to terrible, I think it would probably been like he would have been like the biggest farce in the history of football. Like one thing that Jonesy and I, and we hadn't always agreed on Jalen Hurts.
I don't think we're going to agree today either.
Well, we might not. But I think one thing we did agree on with Jalen Hurts was that he played the part. If you hear him speak, you hear him in interviews, he sounds like an NFL quarterback. He sounds like someone who understands the room, who understands the assignment. And that's cool. And I think that can get you but so far. So for me, it was like, all right, he sounds the part. Let's see him put those words into action. Let's see him improve. Let's see him do things better. Because quite frankly, I just think like if he came out and was horrible, then pretty much it'd have been over for him, and Jonesy would have been leading the revolt.
So I'm gonna answer that question a little bit differently. Have I seen what I've expected to see? Yes, but for different reasons. Yeah, I've seen some progress from Hurts, no question. He's looked good. Top 2, if you're voting for MVP after 3 weeks, you'd go Lamar Jackson, then probably Hurts. But for me, my question, like of all the questions, because there were questions about Hurts coming into the year, the biggest one was not what his ceiling looks like, but consistency, how often he's able to play at or near his ceiling. And through 3 weeks, you've played, 12 quarters of football. The Eagles offense has, if you look at it, played 5 good quarters out of those 12. And by good quarters, I mean scored any points at all. Mm-hmm. And 0 of those have been in the 4th quarter. So the defense has done a lot of the heavy lifting, especially in the last 2 weeks. And the offense has been explosive, no doubt. But I'm still looking to see consistency. I'm still looking to see a complete game from this Eagles offense. So have I seen what I expected? Yeah. They're explosive. It's weapons everywhere, but there's still work to be done.
All right. That's fair. That's fair. Now, of course, there is another weapon, because you're speaking of weapons that joined this team this year. His name is Mr. A.J. Brown. You know, I'm familiar with him because, of course, the Tennessee Titans traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Has he been everything you thought he was going to be so far?
Better than advertised for me.
Definitely.
I knew he was a physical receiver. I knew he was a yards after the catch guy. I did not know he was as good as getting downfield and beating guys over the top as he is. I guess not that he's like a Tyreek Hill burner, but I underestimated his speed. So for me, that aspect of it has definitely been an eye opener that he's a more complete receiver than I realized.
Yeah, on that note, I gotta agree with my man Jonesy. I think better than advertised. He is a true number one, and I think honestly, you see that. You've seen every aspect of that in the 3 games that they played, and the fact that he was so huge in that Week 1 win against Detroit, but also the attention he commands. You saw that in Week 2 and Week 3, which allowed Jalen Hurts to spread the ball and get the ball to Devontae Smith, who, you know, is probably as good a number 2 receiver and, you know, as you're going to find.
Mm-hmm.
You know, before the Eagles were able to land A.J. Brown, all expectations were for Devontae Smith to assume that role of, you know, number one wide receiver.
And all indications where he could do it well.
Yeah, if you saw his rookie season, Eagles fans would have been cool going into this season with Devontae Smith number 1 and then trying to find a
vet number 2.
Number 2. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they'd have been good with that. I wouldn't have minded. And then all of a sudden, A.J. Brown just falls into our lap. Thank you, Tennessee. We really appreciate that. but you know, now it's like, whoa, it feels like an embarrassment of riches. And as you've seen in Week 2 and Week 3, and this is something that, you know, Jonesy and I have talked about on our podcast, Jonesy and Brown, available wherever you can get your favorite podcasts. But, you know, just Jalen Hurts' ability to spread the ball. You know, Jonesy had brought up after Week 1, it seemed like he was just focused on A.J. Brown. It was just about getting the ball to A.J. Brown. Could Jalen Hurts spread the ball?
Could have used the whole field, not just multiple receivers, but all sides of the field.
And he's done that.
I definitely remember you talking about on the previous episode, I believe after Week 1, using the right side of the field and not going to the left. So he definitely answered that after that week. It's just a matter of, can he continue answering the bell and the questions that you have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the number one question on him was always consistency. Because going back to college, we've seen moments, streaks, series where he's looked amazing. But we still also remember going back to college, he got benched because Tua was a better passer than him. Mm-hmm. And no one is saying that Tua is Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers.
You're correct. Now, we did talk about A.J. Brown. We have a Quez Watkins out there too, Devontae Smith, who you brought up.
Mm-hmm.
The running game. I know Hurts kind of, supplements the running game, but are you sold in having Sanders and the cast of characters back there that they can be that running game that this team's going to need as the season goes on?
Well, for me, I'm sold that our offensive line can open running lanes for whoever's back there. You put anybody back there that runs a 4.5 40 or less, they'll find running room. So from that perspective, that I'm sold on.
Okay.
Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Kelsey, Lane Johnson at the right tackle. You got studs all across this line. In my opinion, best O-line in football. So, you might not have the quote-unquote superstar running back, but the guys back there are good enough to get it done.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think they have a good enough running back committee. You know, that team of Sanders, Gainwell, and Boston Scott, I think they're more than serviceable. Whether or not this Eagles team has that true bona fide number one stud running back, I don't think so, and probably leaning more towards no than yes. But I think what you have right now, I think it's capable. They can get the job done. I think it's just like Jonesy said. This offensive line is deep. Yeah, I understand that, and this is even having lost and Andre Dillard for the season.
Oh, he's not done for the season.
Well, what was he done for?
Broken
Done
arm
for a bit, but not
7-8
for
weeks, maybe.
7-8 weeks. Okay, done for half the season.
Mm-hmm.
Done for a while. We won't see him for a while. But nonetheless, I don't. A loss like that would seriously hamper other teams. This team is so deep on the offensive line, they're good. You know, they were 2-3 deep almost at every position on that offensive line. And they're just, manhandling people. So to Jonesy's point, they're opening up holes. The holes are there. You watch this team work, the holes are there. They still got Jason Kelce who can get anywhere on the field. When it probably, who
you have literal giants on the left side of the line.
A couple of giants, and then you got probably one of the most agile centers in the game in Jason Kelce, and you got a stud rookie working behind him, just watching him play. So, is there, do you have that sexy pick or whatever at running back for the Eagles? No, but I think you're going to see them. They're more than capable. You're going to see them pound teams and chew up clock in the second half.
Now, I will say, though, the one situation in the ground game that tends to concern me is short yardage, 3rd and 1s, 4th and short, because you don't have that true hammer type back that can really push the pile. But you hope the girth of the offensive line will get you by in those situations.
Yeah.
But that is the one circumstance in the running game where I am slightly concerned is those short yardage power run type situations.
Yeah, I could see that. There is no LeGarrette Blount out there. He's just sitting around. So, but hey, of course, we do have to talk about the defensive side of the ball. We have talked about the offense a little bit, I should say. But 9 sacks versus the Commanders. I mean, good gracious. I mean, Carson Wentz, what a way to definitely welcome him back to the NFC East, right? So, that defense is definitely getting after people. I mean, you got Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Hassan Reddick. You got Josh Sweat up there. I mean, your guy isn't playing this year because he got injured. I'm wish him well on the recovery, but hey, they didn't really need him to begin with. The embarrassment of riches up front. I mean, you got Jordan Davis. I was watching tape on him that Brian Baldinger did, and I'm like, man, that guy is making some moves up front. And if he gets his chance to get his hands on the quarterback, it's going to be over. I mean, what can you say just about the depth up front? Because honestly, I saw some of the pieces, but I was like, okay, are they going to develop? Are they going to be this? Are they going to be this? And then now, boom, they're off like gangbusters up there.
It's definitely a shock because I feel like probably, especially in the front seven, and it's almost hard to it's almost hard to say because they've had a Brandon Graham and a Fletcher Cox on that front as part of that front seven for a while, but still, especially under the old regime and into the beginning of the new regime, this was still a front seven that struggled to put pressure on the quarterback. Eagles now have two straight defensive regimes that kind of want to put pressure on a quarterback by only sending 4 people. You know, there's not a lot of blitzing. They're not going to blitz a lot, but they want to get to that quarterback just using the front four, and they struggle with that. You know, they struggle with that for years. They struggle with that for a while, and now there's things are starting to turn around. They're starting to have the personnel that can get back to the quarterback. They can get there with not necessarily sending up with these elaborate blitzes, but just straight up manhandling people.
But and to your point though, with them liking to go with the 4-man rush, what you're seeing this year, and it really showed up in the Minnesota game, is that you have a capable secondary. So in the Minnesota game, you saw Bradbury get a pick 6, Avonte Maddox got a pick, Darius Slay has a couple interceptions this season. So with the back end actually now being able to cover, you're able to see the defense get coverage sacks as well.
Darius Slay had a master class on Justin Jefferson.
So this is the first time in many years where you've seen the Eagles have a defense where the secondary and the front seven are able to actually complement each other.
That's true.
So from that standpoint, the defense, in my opinion, is really what's carried the Eagles to the 3-0 start so far. They were a little questionable in week 1 against the Lions, but that's actually starting to look like a better win than we thought at the time, with the Lions showing a little more fight than some people may have expected this far into the season. But the defensive personnel when you start to see, like we saw against the Commanders with Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox starting to round into shape at this point in the season, they were a little quiet over the first week or two. But if they're starting to find their stride and create pressure up front, sky's the limit for this Philadelphia Eagles defense.
I think honestly, especially when you look at it like this, they drafted Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round, and he's barely been able to see the field yet this season.
Amazing.
And that's with a linebacker core that was much maligned. That's probably the most
for
maligned
years
of that whole defense.
For years, we talked about their lack of willingness to invest in that position. And now all of a sudden, it's a position of strength where you have Kaiser White, who's made plays here. TJ Edwards is developing into a solid NFL linebacker. You bring in Hassan Reddick, who's technically listed as a linebacker, but used as an edge rusher in this defense. You draft the Kobe Dean, and now you have a really well-balanced linebacking core, as opposed to years past when we're running guys out there who were like, I'd literally be in the middle of a game and I follow this team and I'm looking like, who's that?
Who is that? And it'd be funny, like, because Jonesy and I, you know, we'll text each other during games. We have a little group chat, me, Jonesy, and our good friend Javon Alford, who you know well too, Mike.
Yes,
we
sir.
usually text each other during these games, and we'll sit here, and Jonesy will be like we watch a game, and Jonesy will be like, "Who is this?" And I'm like, "I don't know who he is, and quite frankly, I don't care who he is. Just get him off my team. Just get him off the field. Why is he there? He should be in the group chat with us." Watching the game, not necessarily on the field. Not
like
playing.
The first time I saw Nate Gary on the field, and I'm trying to figure out who he is. Like, where did this guy come from? And why is he trying to cover a wide receiver?
Oh, boy.
Why is he on the field? Why? Who let this happen? And now you're at a point where you draft, and you know, and Jonesy will, he can speak to this as well. You know, I just knew when you bring in a player like Dean, I'm like, okay, we just drafted the best linebacker we have. And now he can't even see the field, and nobody's complaining. Nobody in the city is saying, why isn't Dean on the field? He should be on the field. What is happening here? People are just like, hey, let him sit.
Let him take his time and develop.
Take notes. And, hey,
right.
Nobody in this city is complaining that Dean is not on the field. Maybe Dean might be complaining. I don't know, but but either way, but we're good.
Yeah. It's always a good thing to be able to develop talent and allow it to definitely grow and get to the level it needs to be before it gets out there, of course. And as far as developing talents, by the way, since we talked about the offense and the defense of the Eagles, of course, the secondary, Darius Slay, you got Bradbury there, which is doing, great things. Developing as a safety, you brought in a safety from the Saints. How is he developing as a full-time safety for your taste?
JB, you will go first on this one?
I was going to say, I think he's doing fine. Right now, you'll be hard-pressed to find too many overall complaints about this defense so far.
Yeah,
now, granted, you could probably check back with me in about 3-4 weeks, and I have plenty. But as of right now, I'm like, I'm good.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, he's been all over the field. His chippiness and attitude on the field that he was known for it with the Saints has come with him. You like the aggressiveness, and it's been one or two maybe missed tackles along the way, things like that. But you're seeing improvement every week, and you see he seems more comfortable, familiar with the role every week. And over the last 2 weeks, you gave up 7 points, and then you almost had a shutout until the end of the game in week 3. So the defense, you're not seeing any blown coverages or anything like that. And safety is one of those positions where if I'm not hearing the guy's name, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I think
you hear the safety's name a lot. It means he got beat over the top, probably.
Or it means he's making a lot of tackles, which that's not a good thing either.
Exactly.
It's funny, but this defense it works so well as a collective unit. I think after the week 2 win against Minnesota, where the secondary played so well. You talk about Bradbury's pick 6. You talk about Slay shutting down Justin Jefferson, having 2 picks of his own. Maddox having a pick. And I think the talk was, and I heard a lot of chatter about this, was, okay, when you get to week 3, watch out for double moves. This is teams that, these DBs are getting anxious. They're jumping routes. They're making plays they're trying to make plays on the ball, trying to get pick sixes, trying to get interceptions every time down. Watch them get beat on double moves. And for me, I'm watching that. But honestly, that also kind of plays into their hands because then you have Carson Wentz, who never wants to throw the ball. He wants to hold the ball for about 4, 5, 6 minutes. It feels like when he gets back there, he's waiting for something to happen, and that's why your quarterback gets sacked 9 times in a game.
Let's be fair to Wentz, though. That wasn't all on him because some of those, the defense was there in 2 seconds or less. They smelled blood in the water and got after that man.
That is true too. That is true too. And it was bittersweet because
you loved it. Don't say it's bittersweet.
No,
I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
Well, here's the thing. And for me, because the end of Carson Wentz came around, during the same time as the end of Ben Simmons. So there were always a lot of comparisons to the way things ended. And I always thought Ben Simmons was way worse than Carson Wentz. I thought Ben Simmons wanted no part of Philadelphia as a city, as an organization, as a fan base, whatever. He wanted out. And I always thought that Wentz just fell out with the organization. It was never about the fans with Wentz. It was never about the fan base. It was just like, hey, this ain't a good fit for me. Y'all moving one way, I'm moving another. I need to be out. And for me, I understood that. So I never disliked Wentz.
I thought Wentz was mentally fragile.
I mean,
very fair assessment there, sir. But
Hey,
it's
look.
about as fragile as his two ankles were that sprained in one game.
I will say this. I am someone I love to disagree with my brother Jonesy. I'm not going to argue that point. Although I disagree, but I'm not going to argue that point. I think Jonesy has plenty. There are plenty of things that he can lay out, and
Yeah, if I want, yeah, we could lay that case out where
you don't have to make that case to me. I don't necessarily agree with your point, but I see your point.
I mean, there are points where you'd like to see more fight in them than just, so. Seeing your teammates having success without you is not something that should bother you.
Right.
Right.
But
I said I'm not going to lay that case out, so
yeah,
I'm going to leave that alone.
I'm not sure if you saw this, Mike, but Jason Kelce posted a video, or somebody posted this video of Jason Kelce in the locker room after the game, and he showed it. He told reporters that he did the jersey swap with Carson Wentz. And then they show Carson Wentz's jersey. It had
a lot of green on it.
A lot of green on it. Especially on the back. Back was almost all green.
Commander's colors are red and white.
Oh, yes.
His was green plus black and blue. It is what it is, man. Carson took a beating. Hey, better y'all than me. It's hey, whatever, man. He ain't my quarterback no more.
All right. All right. Now, of course, we have talked about the Philadelphia Eagles, the defense, the offense, the 3-0 start. But there is another team that is impressing people in the NFL, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are 2-1, fresh off of a 38-10 drubbing of the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he looks like a different quarterback this year, I must say. I mean, in that game, he was hitting all his passes to his receivers. Marvin Jones actually got a touchdown this game. He's been kind of quiet the first couple of games, by the way. But he looks like a total different quarterback under your old coach, Doug Pederson. Now, Doug Pederson, of course, he took you all to the Super Bowl, brought a Super Bowl to Philly.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on his tenure in Philly and how it ended? And what do you think about the job he's doing down here in Jacksonville?
Well, I remember when Doug Pederson first came in he came in to replace the guy who I call the worst coach in NFL history. But the guy he's currently replacing has a fair argument of his own to be in that debate as well. So it's that common thread there. He's replacing two just historically bad coaches as far as NFL goes. And I remember the first time I saw them on the field, there was a completely different feeling to it. Like, this is a real NFL team again. And I'm seeing a very similar reaction to his first couple games working with Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they're like, it's almost a sense of relief and joy just to be like, this is what I thought it was supposed to be. Like, this is NFL football. So the guys are like, the players are on a high. They're all bought in. They're going to go through a wall for this. Doug's a nice guy. He's a likable guy.
Yes.
So, and then when you go from a guy like Chip Kelly or Urban Meyer, who had that college mentality, my way or the highway, think they're the show, it's all about them, can't get out of their own way type coaches. So when you get rid of them and go to a nice guy who gives you ice cream after a tough day like Doug Pederson, but he's an NFL player. He's a quarterback. He's one of you. Like, it's easy for these guys to buy in and be willing to play for him. Whether or not he's the best X's and O's and adjustment guy and all that stuff, he's not bad. I won't say he's bad, but
there's a little bit desired, right?
Yeah, there's a little bit of desired schematically, but as far as relating to his players and getting them to want to play hard, Doug Pederson's your man.
I do not know how long the Doug Pederson era will last in Jacksonville. But if Doug Pederson was to ever leave Jacksonville, he will not jump into another job after this. He will sit back at his crib and he will wait until the next hottest college coach comes into the NFL and fails miserably and gets fired, and then come in after that and then take that team to a championship. I think honestly, Doug is kind of proving he is proof of whatever argument you want to make against those college coaches coming to the NFL. Because I feel like, in the NFL, the players are the stars. And that's not necessarily the case in college football. College football, the coach
Nick Saban's the star.
Yeah,
Coach Prime's the star.
Yeah. The coach is as big a star, if not bigger star than the players in college. And when you're in college, if you're a star because that coach made you a star. Trevor Lawrence, Trevor Lawrence was a star because Dabo Swinney made him a star.
Oh boy! Hey, hold on 1 second before you get going. That is not an endorsement of Dabo Swinney.
No.
Just want to let everyone know that's listening. I'm not a Dabo Swinney guy.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Appreciate that. Look, don't ask me. Don't try to argue Dabo with me because I'm not interested. I'm not.
That's a curse word in this house, man.
No. Understood. No, I meant no disrespect, bruh. I meant none at all. But nonetheless, it's like that's the claim that you can make. As many good professional players come out of Alabama, you attribute all of that to Nick Saban. Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, so when you come in here, when you get to the pros, these college coaches are thinking, hey, if we're going to succeed, it's going to be because of my system. And that's not necessarily the mentality in the pros. Whereas a pro player will say, hey, if your system is going to work, it's going to be because I'm the best player in the NFL at this position. Your system's going to work because of me. And I think that's kind of where the blowback comes from. That's, right. I think that's what Chip Kelly kind of experienced once he got to Philly. Like he got to Philly, and after a miserable season from Andy Reid, and was able to take that team in his first year to the playoffs. And then he immediately cut a superstar and traded another one because he just felt like his system would be able to.
And to be clear, they backed into the playoffs. They started hot and then tailed off at the end of the year as the team started to fade because he's exhausting them. But
exactly.
Yeah. But nonetheless, his act wore thin.
Mm-hmm.
His act wore thin, and towards the end of the Chip Kelly, there was almost a mutiny. Nobody missed him. When the Eagles got rid of Chip Kelly, nobody missed him at all.
I wouldn't allow his name to be said on our show for about 3 years or so.
Well, to be honest with both of you, you said 2 curse words on the show. You said that one, and you said the other one. So we got 2 curse words. We go throw a third one out there.
What was the other one?
We're not gonna mention that. No, we're not gonna mention that one.
Oh, you gotta text me so I'll know not to say that again.
No, I'm just kidding. You're okay. But of course, we got to talking about Doug Pederson. But I do want to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars team.
Hold on, timeout. I need a timeout real quick. JB,
yes,
slide to your right, please.
Oh.
Ooh.
Man. All right.
Wow. Wow, and he's actually touching the jersey and prepping.
No, well, here's the thing.
In the background. For those that don't know that are listening, is it a 25 Philadelphia jersey? I'm just going to leave it at that.
I don't know who's going to wear.
Sixers.
I don't know who's going to wear 25 next. And honestly, it's just that I needed to get on this call for my man Mike, and my office is really, really junky right now, and I needed to cover that up. And this is the closest thing I had, so I had to. I don't want to show y'all what's underneath this, but it's just covering up some junk, and it kind of looked good. And I was hoping my shoulder would keep it hidden. I was moving around too much.
You were doing all right. Then you started moving.
Then I started moving. That was my fault. I apologize. That is not in. That definitely is not an endorsement. My name is John Brown, and I do not endorse that player. But
all right, well, we'll get back to where we were. It was just the Jacksonville Jaguars, and of course, they have kind of come out a lot better than anyone thought they would be so far. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, Tennessee Titans haven't played very well so far. The Indianapolis Colts, of course, they upset the Chiefs, but for the most part, haven't played very well. And the Texans are still trying to figure out who they are. So Jacksonville Jaguars, you gotta, we did talk about Trevor Lawrence and we haven't talked about Trevor Lawrence yet, but Trevor Lawrence is doing well. But one guy that is actually leading the charge for this team that everyone clowned when he got his contract is Mr. Christian Kirk. He's got 12 receptions, 190. He had 12 receptions, 195 yards, and I think 3 touchdowns. I might have more than that, but the thing is, he is being the leading man for that team. He is being moved around in Doug Pederson's offense, and he's making things happen, which honestly, I don't think a lot of people expected him to do that. Him and Zay Jones, and I call Zay Jones Bruce Leroy because, the haircut he got, he kind of looked like Bruce Leroy from the 80s, but that's another story for another day. Good. But I mean, you've got Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram. You've got a running game with James Robinson and Travis Etienne, which is getting better each and every game. And I will say this, James Robinson does not look like a guy that had a partially torn Achilles going into this season in terms of from ending last year. He does not look like that guy. Last couple of games, he's ripped off a lot of big runs. So with all these weapons going against the Eagles defense, and of course, I will say this: Jacksonville Jaguars offensive line has played better this year than they have in the last few years. With all these weapons, is there a level of concern for this Jacksonville offense?
Well, my concern is largely based on the fact that Trevor Lawrence last week, I want to say, was second in the league as far as from time to snap to time to release of the ball. 2.2, 2.3 seconds, something like that. He's getting the ball out fast. And Gannon sometimes has been averse to being aggressive in coverage, bringing his corners up. He's been better. He's been much better at it this season so far. With Bradbury, Slay, and Maddox, it's kind of hard not to be aggressive in place of man coverage and let those guys do what they do. But you will see Gannon at times want to sit back and not attack receivers defensively with his corners. And if that's the case and Lawrence is getting the ball out, there could be plenty of room to work after the catch on quick short routes. And that would be my one concern with the matchup against Jacksonville's offense is stylistically, how does Gannon go about attacking the receivers of Jacksonville? Because personnel-wise, most teams in the league are lucky if they have one good corner that can cover their position. The Eagles are actually in a situation where they have 3 guys that can cover their position, and Gannon's going to have to take advantage of that in this matchup.
I think, honestly, with the Eagles, even given the confidence level that they are earning so far, there are still a lot of question marks, and maybe the bigger question marks are with the coaching staff than the players. I think when you look at what questions that this team had going into the season, it was pretty much about the front office getting players, and then being able to getting players, and then players performing, and then basically just than the coaching. So when you look at the weapons that Jacksonville has, I think honestly that puts more pressure on the defensive coordinator. What can this defensive coordinator do to scheme because to neutralize Trevor Lawrence and getting to those weapons? I think when you look at it, when you look at it, I think basically what you have to do is realize one, Trevor Lawrence isn't Carson Wentz. It's the exact opposite. You're not dealing with a quarterback that's going to hold on to the ball for 3-4 seconds
forever.
Like Jonesy said, he gets that ball out pretty quickly. So are you going to be able to get to him? Can you get to him? Can you pressure him? And as big as a quarterback as Trevor Lawrence is, he is still pretty mobile. He's not going to sit there and just take hits. He can step up in the pocket. If you need him to put the ball down and run for a couple of yards, he will get you those yards. So if you have a quarterback who gets the ball out quickly, how can you get pressure on him? How can you contain him? I think this is for the Eagles. This is a bigger test. This is a different test, and you're still going from week to week testing out the players as well as the coaching staff. So yeah. I think this puts pressure on that coaching staff to see how they can, how they can tailor this game plan, moving on from a statue like Wentz to a stud like Lawrence.
Yeah, definitely will be interesting to watch those two match up, and I would dare to say that. I wish they would put this game on like prime time, even though you couldn't predict these two teams were going to be as good as they were to start out the blocks. But I really wish this game would be on prime time. But that's another story for another day. But defensively, you do have to worry about Josh Allen. He's starting to get a little revved up. Now I'm talking about Josh Allen that plays for the Jaguars. For those that are listening, not Josh Allen plays for the Buffalo Bills. He didn't switch and play defense, but of course, they've been pretty good at forcing takeaways. I mean, the Chargers saw a lot of that last week. Of course, with the linebackers picking off passes and fumbles, all those different things. Oluquan, former Falcon, playing middle linebacker now, recovered a fumble. Then you've got you just got a lot of different playmakers out there for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I will say this. They have not been the donut team that I used to call them. That was my nickname for their defense because they were all good on the outside and nothing in the middle, just nothing at all. But cold, I can't say that now. I can't say that now because, you got Trayvon Walker on the one side. You got Josh Allen on the other. I mean, Josh Allen versus Lane Johnson on one side. You got Trayvon Walker versus Jordan Mailata.
Mailata.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry about that if you're listening. I butchered your name. My apologies. But
that's all right. You tell him that. You can be the one to tell him that how you butchered his name. We're going Jonesy and I, we're gonna step back. Hey,
that man is 6'8", 380, all muscle. I ain't telling him nothing.
Exactly. You're on your own.
Well, I'm gonna tell him to run.
Exactly. everyone in this city just said, you know what, I'm gonna just buckle down and learn your name. No need to throw that in the chance.
I'll say this, it's ought to be interesting. I think, with those matchups and kind of the front seven versus the Eagles, starting, offensive line, running backs, I think that's going to be kind of a pretty even matchup in my opinion. But where the thing is, I think where it's going to be different though is the wide receivers versus the DBs, because the Jacksonville DBs can be taken advantage of from time to time. Of course, they did look solid last week, minus their starter, Shaquille Griffin, which he's catching a lot of flack in Jacksonville at this point, by the way. But
why is he catching a lot of flack? What's going on?
The first game of the season, they were in cover 2, and he's like kind of lollygagging around, those type of things, and he got beat for a pass. And of course, they were telling him about it over and over again, and people were saying, "Oh, this is normally what we see from him anyway," and people are not very happy with him.
Well, Jacksonville's defense hasn't looked bad so far this year, in my opinion. But the one thing that as an Eagles fan gives me confidence. And JB will tell you, I'm the one leading the charge to pull back the reins on anointing Hurts. Let's be patient. Let's get these questions answered first before we call him the guy. The one thing Hurts doesn't do is turn the ball over a lot. Mm-hmm. He does not put that ball at risk. He knows when to throw it away. He knows when to pull it down and just use his legs. He's not going to put his team in negative situations very often. So if that Jacksonville defense is going to be out there making plays, they're going to have to actually make plays. They can't just bank on Hurts making a mistake.
Hurts ain't gonna give you a lot of plays. He's not gonna.
He doesn't throw the ball away. He's not a. Yeah.
Got you. Well, he's definitely going to have an opportunity to make some plays, especially going against this Jacksonville secondary. I will tell you, Shaquille Griffin, I'm not sure if he'll be back for this week, but if he is, they're probably going to look at him because Tyson Campbell is another guy as well. He's active as a corner, but the thing is about him is he doesn't have any hands. He's the classic. He's the classic answer.
That's why he plays defense.
Yes, he's a classic answer of a wide receiver without hands as a DB. He's the classic answer to that at this point in his career. But so it'll be interesting to see that matchup. And honestly, I don't think they have anybody that can really take AJ Brown. And of course, AJ Brown is very familiar with this team, so that ought to be interesting in its own right. But, of course, we did talk about a lot about the defense and offense, but I do want to say this is going to be a game I will be watching, and if I don't see it on TV, I'm going to play it back on NFL Plus. Hey, NFL Plus, if you want to sponsor the show, I just gave you a plug.
Do you like it anyway? Do you like it so
okay.
far? I'm trigger happy on this. I'm not trigger happy. I'm almost trigger shy on this. I don't know. I've heard people. I've heard mixed.
I like the all 22. That's the thing I like the most because you can see the all 22. I got the premium version of it, so I like the all 22. So you can mess around and see all the players and kind of break stuff down. So I like that kind of stuff because it comes from watching film when I played all the way through college. So I'm just used to doing those type of things. So it kind of helps me put the whole picture of a play together instead of a snapshot that cuts off this or that.
Humble brag. Yeah, I just got I got the premium package, so I can get that all 22. So I can just break down all the X's and the O's, and
it's a business expense. This man is professional. That's all.
I understand. I respect that. I respect that.
It helps me break down the X's and O's instead of looking for Jimmy and Joe's, man. So
I like.
I gotta pay the cost to do what I need to do. So
I hear you, man, and that's why touring the AFC South is a good podcast, man.
Well,
that's why you do what you do.
Hey, I appreciate it. And honestly, I you probably know this, but I didn't even really want a podcast for years. And then somebody had to keep talking me into doing a podcast. So that's how this even happened. But of course, we're gonna that's my questions kind of for the show. I want to get y'all into the game. The game is 5 questions. I got 2 answers.
Oh, let's do it.
You got to give an answer.
Is it a competition?
No, it's not a competition.
Okay, because
JB scared to lose to be in something else.
It's all.
How can I be scared of something that's never happened? How can I be scared of a loss that I've never taken? Because I don't have to. Because I'm just that good at what I do. But it's all right. What's up? Let's
all right. Well, it's all Philly. All the answers are all Philly. So this is going to be fun. All right. I've got 2 Eagles quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Donovan McNabb or Michael Vick? Which one are you taking? You got to win one game. Which one are you taking?
I'm taking 5.
Yeah, got to go McNabb.
Yeah, got to go McNabb. The proof is in the pudding, and that as down as people can be on Donovan McNabb, and he's lost some. He was the quarterback of some big losses in Eagles history, but he was also the quarterback of some big wins. Not the biggest win, but he was still the quarterback of some really big wins, made some really big plays. Mike Vick don't have a 4th and 26.
Oh, see, that's not really where I go with it because let's be honest, Mike Vick has some of the most explosive offensive moments in Eagles history. That being said, he's also a guy who admittedly didn't like to study tape until later in his career, which just that puts you behind the curve, the learning curve a little bit. And the one thing you can't say about McNabb was that he didn't take his craft seriously. He might not have always performed in the big games the way you wanted, but he was serious about his job, and best quarterback in franchise history, in my opinion. So you got to go 5.
Here we go. All right, we're going to go pass rushers. Hugh Douglas or Brandon Graham?
Got to go Hugh.
You're going to go Hugh?
I got to go Hugh. I'm
going to go BG on that one. I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go BG. Now,
I'm going to tell you why I say Hugh, because JB, you'll remember this. First 3-4 years of BG's career, everybody in Philly's calling him a bust and about ready to run him out of town. It took
BG would have called himself a bust. He said it himself,
It took him a while to really find his stride as an Eagle, whereas Hugh, in his time in Philly, got the job done the whole time in Philly. So that's why I go with Hugh.
No, I can't deny that. People were down on BG at the very beginning, but I think once
when he got drafted, we all wanted who? Earl Thomas, was it that year?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like everybody's mad we didn't draft Earl Thomas, and then it took him a couple years to hit his stride.
And now people are like Earl Hugh. People, it's funny. Those people who wanted Earl Thomas over Brandon Graham cannot be found anymore. No one will admit to that now. And I think that's part of why I choose BG, because yes, he started out slow. Yes, there were people who thought he was a bust, but when he figured it out, he figured it out. And, he went from he went from a bust to probably one of the greatest in team history. He will go down in team history. His name will be raised in the rafters in that Eagles Hall of Fame. He is, he's one of the best to ever do it. So he went from bust to one of the best. So that's why I would go to BG. And that's not a knock on Hugh Douglas, because Hugh was my man, and I liked him a lot.
Okay. All right. We're going to go running backs. LaShawn McCoy or Brian Westbrook?
My God, it's out here. This is like choosing between my kids, man.
I think they're similar stylistically, but I'm gonna go B West because he was a little bit better in blitz pickup and definitely much better in the screen game and as a receiver.
Yeah.
Neither one of them was really great running like up the middle between the tackles. They're both more speed guys looking to get to the outside and break one. So that's what. So in that respect, they're similar, and they both could definitely break the big run on you. Yeah. But I think B West was a little more complete all around.
I will actually agree with Jonesy on that one. I'm gonna go B West. I think maybe had LaShawn McCoy been able to play a couple more years in Philadelphia, that my opinion might have changed. You can blame the aforementioned guy for that, but nonetheless, as far as better Eagles running back, I would go B West as well.
Okay, all right, we're gonna go a little old school 76ers here on this one.
Oh boy,
Charles Barkley or Dr. J?
Gotta go Doc.
Gotta go, gotta go with the guy who I think people who bring parades to town automatically get shifted to the top. It's funny because
the city loves Barkley.
Yeah,
we all love Charles. We all love Charles.
I've listened. So I did my homework.
It's like Barkley's, Barkley kept running into Jordan when he was here. His best teams kept running into Jordan. And that's one in itself. And then he gets traded to a better team in Phoenix, and then they run into Jordan. But Doc dealt with those 80s Celtics and those 80s Lakers, and still has a ring.
Mhm.
So, in the end, that's why I got to go with Doc on this one.
All right, we're gonna go a little music. This one, I like neo soul music, and a lot of neo soul artists come from Philadelphia.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go Bilal or Music Soul Child. Which one you picking?
I would say, and then I'll turn this over to Jonesy. I think honestly, when you're having that conversation about neo soul music, that's how you can tell a true fan. Like, who really digs the music. Like, if you're into Bilal, that means you just love neo soul music. You'll find it anywhere. You got, you had CDs that were written in magic marker. You don't have like real CDs that you bought from the store. You got joints
Like somebody sat in their office and burnt this thing and wrote the name of this album on by hand.
If Bilal is your favorite singer, then you got your music from LimeWire and Napster and whatever. You could go to the store and get a Music Soul Child joint. And they're both really good. Bilal's the truth, and I think honestly, it's two different types of genre. Like, if for a true Bilal experience, you gotta catch that brother live.
Yeah,
you gotta go to a show and catch a Bilal show. Whereas you can throw on a music CD, that's cleaning the house. That's cleaning the house anthem. You throw a Music Soul Child CD on, on around 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning. By 3 o'clock, your house is spotless. But yeah, goodness, music is my guy. I like music, and that's not knock against Bilal because he's got joints. But I'm gonna go with music.
Yeah, this one it's hard, but yeah, I'm gonna go with JB and say music as well. Just the body of work is, it's just the total body of work makes me say music. Yeah.
Got you. Now, of course, I do have a Music Soul Child story. I missed his concert twice when I was supposed to go. For the first time I missed his concert, I broke my nose playing flag football. Literally was rushing the quarterback, reached for his flag. As soon as I reach for his flag, his right arm comes to throwing the football, cracks me right in my nose.
Oh,
yeah, broke my nose playing flag football. The second time, just got caught up doing other things, working, and didn't make it. So I just take it as I wasn't meant to see him live in concert because of that.
I will say this. I have heard people say that music does not put on a good live show.
I wasn't going to say it, but
I've heard people say this. But now I've only seen music live once, and I thought it was a good show. So when people were saying it, I'm like what? Like, I don't know what I missed, but I thought the show was dope. He did a show. Saw him at Rams Head in Baltimore right before I Just Want to Sing came out. So Buddy had just hit the streets. So
he was still hungry then.
Yeah. So I thought it was a great show. I've heard those rumors, but I can't speak to that. I thought he was good. Now, just like you, I had a chance to see him a second time a couple summers ago. It was him, Jasmine Sullivan, and Jill Scott at the Man. But and Jonesy knows about the Man. It's an outdoor arena here in Philly. I was bojangling and I was late. And I missed music. I got there right before Jasmine Sullivan got on, and I missed music completely. But he sounded good from the parking lot.
Oh man, but I'm not gonna hold y'all up anymore. We went down memory lane with some Music Soul Child memories and some painful ones for me, by the way. But Of course, I want to thank y'all for coming on, talking a little
Appreciate
Philadelphia
Oh,
Eagles.
man, thanks for having
Jacksonville
us.
Jaguars, man. Thank
No, those
you
were
all
good.
again.
Those were good questions because usually when people bring us on, when people want to talk to us, oh, we're going to talk Philly, and the first thing they'll say, hey, what do you want on your cheesesteak or something Fresh
Want it
Prince
to
or
be
Jazzy
original.
Jeff or stuff like that.
Mhm.
No, it had to be original. Had to be original.
that was good.
Can't be duplicating people. So I want to give you all the floor. Talk about what all you have going on. Give your social media information, whatever you want to do. The floor is yours. Whoever wants to go first.
Jonesy, you got it, man.
Well, social media, of course, you could catch us at Jonesy and Brown, A-N-D. Spell it all out at Jonesy and Brown on all your social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And of course, you can find me personally, Jonesy_LJR. We putting out new content for you every week, sometimes couple times a week, depends on what's going on. Well, we're always trying to keep you up to date on what's going on in the world of sports, especially what's going on in the Philly area. So if you ever try to catch up with Sixers, Eagles, a little Phillies here and there, and maybe even a little Flyers here and there, we're your guys to check out.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Like you said, Jonesy and Brown, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can also reach us at BITW Sports, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or BITWsports.com. You go there, you get all the links to wherever we are, wherever you can find our podcast. Download us. We're everywhere. Just search Best in the World Sports. Also, I'm on Philly Go Flow Radio every weekday, 2 to 6. Play throwback hip hop and R&B all day long. That good stuff that your parents met to, what they were listening to when they met. That good 90s hip hop, that good early 2000s hip hop. I got all that every day, 2 to 6 on PhillyGoFlow.com. Make sure you check me out.
Yeah, definitely remember the first time I did that, and I requested a song for my wife on Valentine's Day.
Yes,
I remember that.
I remember that, man. I remember that. I appreciate
my wife
that.
My wife was like, "Oh my God, you did what?" yeah, she loved it, man. She loved it. But I'm gonna go ahead and of course end the show. Thank everyone for tuning in. Thank everyone for listening to Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton. We're out.